Well, that was weird. I wanted to film in there, but obviously I couldn't. I'm gonna talk about it later. But first, I'm gonna drink some water and eat some food and have a nap. Kia ora. I am back in the world, kind of. I'm really tired, but I thought I would do this video while things are kind of fresh in my mind and while I'm on a roll with doing it. So I was going to write some notes so that I knew what I was talking about, because my brain is still really foggy from jet lag. I'm really tired. It's 2:45 in the afternoon here in New Zealand, which is 1:45 a.m. In the UK, so I'm still a little bit backwards, but it's okay. So I think I will have put in the couple of little clips from the airport. Unfortunately, I couldn't film a lot more before that, obviously not going through customs or security, but it was a very strange time. Airport being very empty, being met by officials and being escorted through was very interesting. I didn't film any of the last bit of the flight back, but I kind of wish I did. It was very strange. So we were on a Boeing 787. Shouldn't have even tried to mention that fact. Would have been easier to not get it wrong if I didn't try and mention it. I think it was a 787 anyway. Big plane, and there might have been 40 of us in total. No more than 40, I think, because we could only disembark the plane in groups of 10, and I kind of was looking around to see whether or not I'd be in the first 10, because I really wanted to get off that plane, and I was. And so I think there were only no more than 4 groups of people. But yeah, it was a very sparsely filled plane. We all had more than 3 seats each, and yeah, all kiwis chatting away. It was quite interesting. I'll just add this part because it's funny and it adds to the story a bit more. I'm just looking at myself in the monitor and oh my god, I am so tired, as you can probably tell. But anyway, I think I watched a couple of people get together on the flight, so there was a bit of a disregard for social distancing on this plane, I must say, which was a shame, because I was like, nobody talk to me, I've got my mask on. I would love to make friends, because I usually make friends everywhere I go, but I don't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to do any filming. I didn't want to do anything at that stage. I was so tired and so ready to just get to the other end. But there was a guy sitting in front of me, and we were on the window side, and there was a girl in the 3 seats of the aisle, and they were chatting to each other. And I knew that they hadn't boarded the plane together because they were just meeting on the plane. And then after we all had our first nap, because we oddly all kind of went to sleep at the same time, it's quite cute, Mum's home. I watched them get together, just doing a vlog, just don't mind me. I watched them sit next to each other and start chatting, and then they went to get cozy to watch a movie, and he must have said, I'm going to go to the toilet first, and she was like, okay. And I watched her, as soon as he went to the toilet, I watched her brush her hair and put on some perfume and then pretend to be asleep. But when he came back, and he was very quiet and tried to wake her, and then they sat apart again. And then later on, she was chatting to another guy on the other aisle, with her butt out for the first guy to see, and it was like watching Love Island on the plane. It was the weirdest thing. But anyway, that was an amusing part of the ride. But it was very strange because there weren't many people. Obviously the flight attendants were wearing masks, and it was all quite sad's not the right word, but odd. It's quite odd. Anyway, so we're only allowed off the plane 10 people at a time. So I think there actually might have been 11 in our group. We got met at the gate. They said welcome back when we arrived, which was really nice. And escorted through the airport. When we arrived at passport control, there were a series of desks, little little stations. We had to go to one of them, and there was a medic there, and they asked us whether or not we had symptoms, and then we got a temperature taken. Mine was 37.1, so it was low. The thermometer says I'm cool, so sweet. And luckily my medic, my official, was really nice and really funny, and it made the whole experience a lot better. So Mum's heard this story so many times because I've told every person I've spoken to. I won't name him in case there's somebody who doesn't have a sense of humour, who thinks it's inappropriate, but I thought it was really funny. He said to me, "Now, because you're the 10th person getting your temperature taken, yours will be a rectal thermometer." I thought that was really, really funny. He also was explaining the bubbles thing. So if you are in isolation, your household is your bubble. You don't go near anyone else's bubble because you don't want to pop their bubble. 2 bubbles come together, that's what he told me. 2 bubbles come together, they pop, and you die. So it was all very good advice. But anyway, so we got asked symptoms, temperature taken, and asked our isolation plan. And so obviously I had to mention that I was staying here with Mum, and that meant that she was now in my bubble of full isolation for 14 days. And then after that we would join the rest of the country in normal isolation. And we're also given a lot of information about isolation, about staying safe in regards to our behaviour in the virus, in the latest news, basically. So that was sort of it. And then we were required to go through passport control and exit the airport and get collected if we were getting collected. I don't know what happened with anybody else. I know that the guy I was sitting in front of, who I started speaking to when we hopped out of the plane, as we were walking together, away from each other together, and he had to travel down to Tauranga, and his parents had dropped a car off for him at the airport. So at that stage, this was 2 days ago, he was able to travel from the airport. We watched the update today though, and they did mention that domestic services were extended so that people coming home could get to other places outside of Auckland. However, they weren't sure how long that would be kept up for, and so there are going to be options for people to stay in hotels and arranged accommodation to be in quarantine for when people return home. But I will say, as mentioned at the very end of my last video, that everybody in the airport was very kind and very considerate and very understanding that we just hopped off a very long flight, and had also been on that flight because of such stressful conditions. And so with my medic that fucking words evade me. The medic that I saw on arrival, his joking and his humour that he provided was very, very much appreciated, because we're all a bit stressed out. I know that before I got home, and as I was coming home, I certainly wasn't sure what I was going to be greeted with at the border, how extreme things would be, if I'd be allowed to come and stay with my mum, or if it would be decided that every person was just going to be isolated entirely. There were a lot of questions around that, but since I have gone through it, I can say to anybody coming home that it's okay. The stress of the situation is taken into consideration. So yeah, that's basically it. Personally, I managed to get good sleep last night. Very thankful that my sister was able to come and drop off some groceries for my mother and I. She got me a vegan pizza and some vegan ice cream because she thought I'd want some treats after this stressful time, and she was right. It was definitely good to get some treats. As I said, my temperature was 37.1, and I haven't, I don't feel any different. I'm just very, very, very tired. Not entirely sure what else I might add. I think a 10-minute long video is just fine. If anybody watching this is wondering about that whole process of the border and whatever, just hit me up. But thank you for everyone who's checked in on me. I am very glad to be home. Who knows what the next little while is going to mean, but we have an opportunity, I suppose, to slow down a little bit, spend time with your family, and I don't know, just make the most of it, and we'll just see what may come. Anyway, thank you to everybody who has followed this little journey. I really appreciate the love and support I've received. And I might just go back in time for the next few videos and share when I was in the Balkans and what I saw a few months ago before any of this blew up. Yeah, until next time. Ka kite.